Yes, I am so excited about everything that you're doing. So I just want to jump right into it. So, Angela Lewis, you are on FX's top rated show, which is Snowfall, and you play Aunt Louie, killing the character. We love it.
Thank you.
So, Snowfall comes back for the 5th season, February 23rd at 10 p.m. It will be premiering. And we know that John Singleton was the creator of the show, the late, great John Singleton. I want to know what you guys are doing to honor his vision for the show.
Yeah, so in addition to his director's chair that's there, I think the biggest thing we can do is remain true to the characters, true to the story, the vision that he was, put into the world, and to really bring our A game. He was big on that, go big or go home. So, for me personally, he will always be yelling from behind the camera, be more Detroit, be more Detroit. And I learned to interpret that as stand in your power. Like, be Louie, you really gotta be in your power. And so I remember that, and I try to bring that every moment, every time. And that is my own personal way of honoring him.
That's so awesome. So we know with Snowfall, it is really set on the background of the 80s and the epidemic, the crack epidemic, with the war on the drugs in the 80s. But we see that there was a total difference between how the war on drugs in the 80s was handled versus the opioid crisis epidemic right now. How do you feel about being on a show that really humanizes the stories of Black people dealing with addiction?
Well, I'm glad we're humanizing it. You know what I mean? I think it's so easy to write us off as, animals or savage or, dangerous, all these negative words without looking at who brought the drugs into the country in the first place, who's perpetuating it. You can't tell me that this country can send somebody to the moon, but they don't know, how Black people are getting their hands on all these crazy guns and drugs, and like, really? So I'm glad that we're shining a light on that whole issue and all the smaller issues that pack up, this big, huge time in the 80s. And I'm glad, I feel proud that we as a cast bring a human experience to characters that could very easily be stereotyped, and disregarded.
Absolutely. And I love the way that you portray Aunt Louie. You do humanize her. You do humanize someone who is, with all the addictions and everything like that, she's still a human, and she's extremely smart, her character. And when people listen to her, she actually makes things work out for everyone else. So yes, I just way that you all have taken that time to humanize those characters. So with you playing Aunt Louie, what do you like the most about portraying her?
I like that she goes for it, full force. She doesn't take no for an answer. And I like that she took this opportunity that she saw in Franklin's opportunity to really lift herself, out of the despair that she was in. For better or for worse, we can judge her choices. We can look back now in hindsight, and say, oh, she shouldn't have done that. But in the moment, she really was trying to get herself out of a life of being told no all the time for her entire life, never given, opportunity, never being taken seriously, completely thrown away. And so she took someone else's opportunity and created an opportunity for herself, and then she's seeing it through. So, I mean, to me, that's amazing.
Absolutely. You just said earlier that John Singleton will remind you, bring a little bit more Detroit. So is that what did you use some of the Detroit background to put into your character too?
I mean, yeah. So I'm born and raised in Detroit, and that's what I know. Like, that's when I think of, when I draw from my gangster, I mean, not my personal gangster experience.
Right.
I'm not gangster, but so I had to heavily lean on things that I remember from childhood or saw
Right.
as I was growing up. And yeah, you have the movies, but what I had even closer to me is my cousins, my uncle, you know, my neighborhood. You know, I'm from the hood, so and John had, you know, he spent a significant amount of time in Detroit, so he knew when he said be more Detroit, even though like Angela would be like, well, there's, you know, beautiful things in Detroit too. You know, we do have parks and, you know, nice things. I understood. I came to, because at first I didn't quite understand why he keeps saying be more Detroit, but I came to understand what he was saying was boss up. You know,
Absolutely. Yeah.
not a boss in Detroit.
Absolutely, it is. Lessons have you learned from playing Aunt Louie? What has she taught you that you could possibly use in, or that you have used in your life?
To really open my mouth and say what it is that I want and say what I don't want, not settle. You know, I think Louie has, she plays the part until she feels like she no longer fits that part. She's grown out of it, and when she grows out of it, I think she is strategic about how she's going to step into the next level. And I think she is very loyal, and she loves her family, and she understands the dynamics and the hierarchies in society, and so she works it. And I've learned a lot from her.
That's awesome. So with season 5 coming up February 23rd,
Yeah.
what can the audience expect?
Well, they got so much money, y'all. It's crazy. So it's gonna be really fun watching them kind of bask in these lavish lives. But then having that much money takes a toll sometimes. It can really add stress to relationships, even when those relationships are familial relationships. And so, you know, we are watching, I think, the family work hard to stay together and be a unit. And that is even harder because we're watching Louie, who, you know, she got shot and killed, well, almost killed in season 4. And so we're watching her, I think her focus is laser sharp this year. She really, she's working to carve out a place for herself, and also to really lean into what's important to her. You know,
Absolutely.
what's important to her, knowing that everything can go away so quickly, and she could go away. And so how does she get what she wants? How does she, you know, what's important? And when what's important to Louie is not necessarily what's important to Jerome, or what not important to Franklin, you know, how do those very big personalities work it out?
Absolutely. Yeah, we're definitely really interested to see how all of those come into play, because we know that it picks up 15 months after after the last season. So at 1986 now, where you guys have money. So we are definitely looking to see what that brings.
Yeah.
I want to shift gears just a little bit. It's kind of on the same thing, but I want to talk about representation. And we know that when Black people see other Black people doing anything, it makes a dream possible. How do you feel about the responsibility of these Black people who get opportunities? What do you think that responsibility is for them?
You know, I think everybody is different, and everybody has different perspectives. So I'm gonna, you know, and then everybody evolves, you know, so I can't speak on another artist's responsibility to anybody. You know, I feel like we all make our choices. But I do think it is obvious that we're in, you know, front and center, so to speak. And people are watching, and children are watching. So I personally take those things into consideration when I make my moves. Now, having said that, I do think that, or I do know that I'm still an individual and I still have to live my life. And everybody is not going to necessarily like my choices or agree with my choices. And to that, I empower everyone to do their thing so that they can make whatever choices they're going to make, so that they're not, looking at me for not so much inspiration, but looking at me for the answer. You can't look to another person to be living the life that you think they should be living. You got to live life to the fullest. So I believe in my platform being a megaphone for voices that are in harmony with my voice, and that I feel I want to have to be uplifted. And I very much feel like, let me use my platform for something bigger than myself. But I can't speak for everybody.
Yeah, I think that was a beautiful answer. So you're a mom,
Yes.
and you have a 2-year-old daughter, raising a little Libra. And
Yes.
just a little side note, I born on the 4th of October is brilliant. That's actually my birthday too. So, and I know that's your daughter's birthday. Yes.
Yes. Oh my goodness. I love that.
So I think with so many Black women, I think our stories are being told a lot more than what it used to be. And with your character of Aunt Louie, she's so layered. How do you feel about the visibility of Black women and that representation of more Black women getting opportunity? Do you think that, we're doing good, or do you think that we still have a long way to go?
I mean, I think it's both. I think, which came first, Black girl magic, or the term Black girl magic, or Black girl magic. I think Black girl magic has been happening, since the beginning of time. But I think that term helped to bring more visibility to us in all the myriad of ways that we thrive, and the myriad of ways we contribute to the world and to our culture here in this country, and then that becoming global, you know what I mean? So, but I think we have a long way to go. I think there's still, we got Black women ancestors abound that nobody knows about yet. There's stuff that we have contributed that, even we don't know yet. I'm still learning. Every time a new movie come out, I'm like, oh my God, I didn't know, or a new book, So I think there is a long way to go. And for our, Black women who exist today, there's still so much that we're doing, and so many spaces where we're left out, and so many spaces where we're forgotten. I've started working in the Black maternal health space, and, the trauma that our women experience and our families experience in the birthing space is really, really like, it's depressing,
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
there's a lot more, for us to go. Yeah.
How has becoming a mom shaped your craft as an actress?
Shaped my craft. Well, it's helped me to kind of weed out all the BS. Because and I used to hear women say that all the time, I just don't have time. And but that's so true. It's like, I gotta get these lines, I gotta, understand what's happening in this scene real fast. I don't have time to be, I'm learning, but I'm actually looking on Instagram because my 2-year-old is gonna come through this door any second, and then it's a wrap. Then we really won't have time. And then I'm on set like, sorry, y'all. And who has time for that?
Right.
So it really, whatever my goals are, whatever it is that I'm trying to do to be my best, it's like, you got to get to it.
Absolutely. Yeah, you just spoke a little bit before about the Black maternal health crisis. And I know that you also have an organization called Moonchild Collaborative. It's a nonprofit organization. What has got you so like this passion behind speaking out about what's going on with Black women and motherhood?
Well, I think because initially I didn't know. I think there's so many components to the perinatal experience, the birthing experience that you just don't know until you're in that moment, until you're about to have a baby, or until you become pregnant, or until you have a newborn. It's like all these things to know. And I don't think it is rare that a person who has not gone through the experience or been, close with someone who's gone through the experience to be in this space, because how would I know these things, right? But having lived through it and seen, so my birthing experience is actually really beautiful. And, it was a lot of things that happened unexpectedly, but I felt supported. There was so much joy. I had access to all these resources, and I learned a lot, partially because of the unexpected things that happened, but just because I also sought out, I'm the kind of person that if I'm gonna buy a vacuum cleaner, I'm doing like all the research on all the vacuum cleaners. And I felt like if I do that for a vacuum cleaner, I better be doing that when it comes to my pregnant body and this new baby, this new human being coming to the earth. So I did a lot of research, but all that to say, because of the unexpected things that happened, I realized after the fact that I spent a lot of money. And I thought, man, if I wasn't on a TV show, what would that experience have been? Because, and you shouldn't have to be, you shouldn't have to have stacks on stacks to, feel like you can have a successful, healthy, joyous birth. And then, there are terms rolling around today like doula and midwife and lactation consultant that people have never heard of, even though they have existed for centuries.
Right.
It's almost taboo now. And it's like, but those are wonderful things to have around you to support you in this time. And so I'm really just wanting to bring awareness and bring light and help for this time to not be a burden, so that our women too can experience joy, can feel like, not just walk away from it alive and their babies are alive. Like that's the bare minimum. Like, you know what I mean? And sadly, that's not the reality for a lot of us, but that is the bare minimum. So what about thriving in birth? What about knowing that your body is healthy and able to support this new being? What about your birth, even whether it goes as planned or not? It's a beautiful, joyous, experience that's as relaxing as possible. Because when you're stressed out, that makes the birthing process even harder. You got to relax. And then when your baby is new and just born and even beyond, like, how about our babies know what joy is? How about our babies know what it is to really be loved and supported in this world before we get to, ages where we got to start talking to them about police, and how to handle themselves, and before they get to school, and before, before all of that, what are we giving them to make them feel beautiful and free now? So that, and I couldn't have known the things that I know before I went through that experience.
Yeah, I think it's so beautiful to have a Black woman championing those efforts, because we know the stats of what happens to a lot of Black women, and it doesn't matter about like economic status. It's just happening to Black women. And so great for you to see, for me to see a Black woman doing that, and to really push out that information to say, this is what I've learned, and this is what I want to share with you. So too, also on your Instagram, I know you are a huge advocate too for, I think you did a Black breastfeeding week, and you talking about the importance of extended feeding and just saying, when she's done is when you will be done. And I think that's, like, we've heard these conversations for a long time about people breastfeeding their children too much or too little, or this shaming that goes along with it too, when women either make the decision not to, or if a woman's child is older in school and she's still breastfeeding. Why are you taking this and telling women like, this is your choice, but also let me give you information on it? Why do you think that's so important?
Because I feel like so often, we hear things from word on the street, or we do something that maybe our mom or our grandmother did without understanding why they did it. You know, I think, you know, back in the day when our grandmothers and our mothers were having babies, I mean, no, I'm not going to go down the whole hospital medical thing, but, but they were given wrong information. You know, my grandmother told me that the doctor told her to stop breastfeeding my dad. I think it was like after a week or something. And and I said, well, why? And he said, I couldn't do it. And I said, why? She said, he didn't say. You know what I mean? And so then if I didn't, or if she had my dad, but let's say if my mom's mom had that same experience and then she didn't breastfeed her baby because her doctor told her not to, and with no reason why, but she didn't even know that, maybe she wouldn't have breastfed me, and then on and on and on. So if we don't even understand what breastfeeding does, how it's beneficial, how it's helpful, how it's free, sometimes we don't even quite clock that. And if we don't understand what it is to have for your baby to have a good latch on you, meaning it doesn't hurt, because breastfeeding is not supposed to hurt. And my thing is, if it hurts and you don't know that it's not supposed to hurt, then you don't know that there is an issue that can be fixed so that you can continue to breastfeed your child. You just gonna be like, oh no, that hurts, because I hear that a lot. Nah, it hurt, so and it's like, but it's not supposed to. So there's an issue with the latch. And if you can fix that and continue to, I mean, breast milk is gold.
Yes.
It fixes so many things. It heals so many things. It's so beneficial in so many ways to you and the baby. There's bonding that happens. So I just want women to know, and men too, to know as much about it as possible, because it shouldn't be a secret. You know what I mean? You're feeding your baby. Why is that taboo? You know, so I want people to know more about it so that then they can make an educated, conscious decision. If you don't want to breastfeed your baby, that's fine. That's not for me to judge, but just make the decision based on solid facts. You know?
Absolutely. I think you're doing such an amazing job with representation all across the board, being a Black woman on a hit show and portraying this character with such grace, as well as being that face in front of this Black maternal crisis that we have too, and giving women facts. I just like representation, I will always say, is super important. So one of the questions that I think women get asked a lot, which is so annoying, is how do you balance it all? I think that's a terrible question to ask women, as if women are like one trick ponies and can only focus on one thing at a time. It's so lame to continue to ask women that. So I'm definitely not gonna do that. But I do want to know, like, what is a part of your definition for self-care?
Self-care is a commitment to yourself to take care of yourself, and whatever that looks like. For me, it looks like meditation. It looks like taking a minute to go and, I don't know, get my nails done. Or as someone once said to me, self-care is not taking a shower. And as hard as that can be sometimes, I agree. Like, that's the bare minimum. You take a shower, not for self-care. Like, that's just hygiene. So self-care is about taking time for yourself, carving out time for yourself to take care of you. Because if you're not taking care of you, how are you going to take care of anybody else? You know, and I'm not saying that self-care is not hard. My meditation practice has shifted drastically. You know, I used to meditate for at least 45 minutes a day. That ain't happening no more. You know, but remembering that you can at least take 5 minutes to sit and be in the stillness and quiet, even if it's in the shower, and breathe and reconnect with me and my higher being and the earth or whatever. Self-care when I'm out and about in nature, just taking a moment to like look around and just be grateful for the earth or for the fact that I'm breathing, you know? So I think just figuring out what self-care is to you is huge, you know, yes. and then carving out time to do that.
Absolutely. So before we get ready to close up here, I've had such a great time talking to you, but just a few more things here. you seem to have so much confidence within yourself and just knowing that this is the space that you're supposed to be in. What kind of words of motivation could you give to other women who are dreaming of acting, but just don't know if they'll actually be able to make a career out of it? What would you tell those young women?
Yeah, this is a very hard journey. So I'm glad that it seems like I'm confident, because I am confident, but that doesn't mean that I'm always confident. And I work really hard at reminding myself that I am enough. Look, I'm getting emotional, that I am enough and that I belong in any given space that I'm in. If I didn't belong, I wouldn't be there. Even if it's like, oh, I'm here, I always wanted to be here, but I didn't realize I was going to be here right in this moment. Okay, I feel like an imposter. Somebody once said to me, the imposter syndrome is the devil. And that is so true. Like, if you're in the space, you belong there. And just really remembering that we are all human beings at the base level. And that's how I relate to people. I try not to get too caught up in, oh my God, that's whoever, like, and then you make a fool out of yourself because tripping on something else. So, but I would, in terms of this particular career path, it is a long journey. Oftentimes, don't get caught up in thinking because you see on Instagram or because suddenly Snowfall was a hit that I just walked up off the street and got on Snowfall. Like, no, I was grinding. I lived in New York for 13 years as a working actress with a side hustle, before I moved to LA. And then I worked another 2 years here before Snowfall even came along. And then I auditioned for Snowfall and didn't get it. And then it came back a year later, I auditioned and finally got it. So,
wow.
Where me being more visible may have happened overnight, my journey certainly has not been an overnight thing. And so just keep pushing. And I would say work smarter, not harder. Like, if something isn't working, switch it up, but be aware of, what you're doing. Are you really, really as professional as you are telling people? What does that look like? What is a professional actor's tools look like? Because if you coming in the room with a shoddy resume and a headshot bent in the corners, something is wrong, and people are not going to take you seriously. So just know, it can happen, but it's a lot of hard work.
Absolutely.
And nobody's path is the same. Sorry, but I think
no.
That's the hardest thing and the most beautiful thing about this path, about becoming an actor, is nobody's path is the same. So you can look to people for inspiration, but what I do may not work for you. Try it on. Oh, she did this. Okay, I'm gonna do that. And then if it doesn't work out, and eventually you'll find your way, but just keep with it. But bring your A game.
Absolutely. This has been one of the most refreshing conversations. Thank you so much for everything that you have to offer. So looking forward to the 5th season and also so much more stuff that you're doing. So I really appreciate you, Angela Lewis, for taking the time out to talk to. I hear that. Thank you so much.
Thank you. This was really great. I appreciate you so much.